There are a lot of different and equally valid strategies for how to compose a video project. Sometimes you have a clear sequence of images and video that you then time your audio and music to. And other times, you have something like a narration track that you time your visuals to. In this case, we already have a narration track, so we will be composing, trimming, and editing our visual media around it. Let's start by dragging our narration track into audio track 2 in our new sequence, making sure that it starts at the beginning of our timeline by dragging it to the left. With your scrubber all the way to the left, press spacebar to play the audio track. The first idea in the narration track is the line, "I spent my entire life training to become a world-class boxer." If you stop the playback as that sentence ends, you'll notice the timestamp reads about 0414, which stands for 4 seconds and 14 frames. Therefore, our first video clip in the sequence should be exactly that long. Let's navigate to our footage bin, and then double-click the video file titled Boxing 1 with Sound. You will see that the video pops up into our source panel. From here, you can preview the entire video, but we will be using it to make a clip or a selection of the 4 seconds and 14 frames we want to add to our sequence. Move the scrubber to where you want your clip to begin. In this case, let's leave it at the very beginning, and then type the letter I on your keyboard or hit the Mark In button in the source panel. You'll notice a blue curly bracket appear where your scrubber is. Next, move your scrubber to the right until the timestamp reads 4 seconds and 14 frames. Now type the letter O or click the Mark Out button in the source panel and you will see the accompanying curly bracket appear. You could also type the timecode directly into the timestamp field. Congrats! You just made your first edit, known as an in and out clip. Now, let's say that you prefer 4 minutes and 14 frames of that video come from the end or middle instead of the beginning. Well, you may have noticed that the source panel has 2 different timestamps, one in blue on the left and one in gray on the right. The blue timestamp shows the position of the source panel scrubber relative to the entire video file. However, if you move the scrubber, you'll notice the gray timestamp doesn't change. This is because the gray timestamp indicates the length of your in and out clip, visualized by the highlighted portion of the source monitor timeline. If you click and drag the center of the clip, you will be able to move it to any part of the video and maintain the same length of time for your clip. This can be helpful when editing needs to be very precise, or when the video source is very long and you only want a small section of it. Now that you have your clip selected in the source window, let's put it into your timeline. Navigate to the scrubber in your timeline and move it all the way to the beginning of your project on the left. Now go back to the source window and click the Insert icon. Your clip, with both video and audio tracks, will enter your sequence wherever your project timeline scrubber is within that sequence, in this case, at the beginning. However, since we know that ahead of time we don't need the audio track, there is a better way to do this. Instead, click and hold down the Video Only button, which looks like a film strip, and then drag your clip into the project timeline, aligning it all the way to the left. You'll notice that only your video track was added, and that there is no corresponding audio clip in the audio track. Let's go back to our narration track and have another listen for the next idea, which is, "But no matter what I did, it was never enough. Still, I had to find a solution," which ends roughly at 10 seconds and 14 frames based on the timestamp. This time, we're going to be doing something a little different. Let's navigate to our bin, then the footage folder, and find the video file titled Boxing 2 with Sound. Drag it onto video track 1 so that it starts right after the first video clip we just inserted. Now, we know that our video clip should end around 10 seconds and 14 frames, but this clip goes past that point in the timeline. One way we can edit this clip to fit between our first clip and our 10-second and 14-frame endpoint is to trim the back end of it. Hover over the end of the clip with your cursor and you will see an icon that looks like a bracket with an arrow in it. Click and hold down on your video track and move your cursor to the left until we reach the 10-second and 14-frame mark. You can use this technique at the beginning of a clip as well. This method of editing is great for editing short video files, where you might want to get rid of the beginning and/or end of your clip. If you have a long video file and only want a small portion of it, then method 1 is a better way to go. You can also split a clip in half into 2 separate clips by using the razor tool. This may be a good time to remind you that Premiere is a non-destructive editing software, meaning that if I were to take a clip, splitting it using the razor tool, and delete one of the 2 new clips, I can always get what I deleted back just by dragging the beginning or the end of the other clip. So don't worry about making a mistake, you can always fix it. One thing you will notice about this method is that both the clip's video track and audio track are now in your timeline. And if we move the video track, the audio track moves with it because they are linked. Since we don't need the clip's audio, let's get rid of it. First, we have to unlink the 2 by right-clicking on either track and selecting Unlink from the pop-up menu. Now, if you deselect your clip and click on just the audio track, you will see that you can now move it freely from your video track. Go ahead and just delete the audio. In an effort to save time in this tutorial, the rest of the clips in our project have been pre-edited and have had the audio tracks deleted to fit perfectly into the project timeline. If you want to challenge yourself, use the clips in the folder titled Raw Footage DIY instead for the rest of the tutorial. Or you can continue to use the remaining pre-edited clips in the Clips for Workshop folder.